So adversity is entirely subjective to the individual. It would be an experience that essentially flies in the face of what they know to be perhaps safe or reliable within their world. And adversity is generally something that shapes us, depending on the gravity of a scenario that we would call adversity, how we're shaped in our current life and how we're shaped as we move through our lives changes. Certainly adversity that happens in childhood, we know that has a significant impact on how we develop into adolescence and adulthood as well. So where child development is concerned, there's a whole lot that goes into that. Certainly the home environment, the community environment, the socioeconomic status of the family and the community, the country the person is living in. We know there's many, many factors that go into shaping how the child develops. Early experiences are, for the most part, deeply internalized, and those early experiences go on to shape then how the person is going to be in relation, broadly speaking, in adolescence and then in adulthood. And how we are in relation in adolescence and adulthood has a lot to do with how we receive experiences, how we interact in the world. And therein is this sort of circular kind of experience as to how we are as individuals, how we have experiences that shapes then how we develop and how we have, whether we have quality of life, whether we have well-being in our adolescence and adulthood. Within all systems, within all organized systems, there are generally hierarchies. Certainly within healthcare. Healthcare in most Western nations, here in Canada, it's very hierarchical. And depending on where one fits within that hierarchy, that's going to sort of position them with regard to the space of the power, where they are within that power, or the balance of power. In mental health care, it's well known to be quite hierarchical. Generally, we see psychiatry at the top of that hierarchy, and then other professions are fitting within that hierarchy. And for a very long time, the service user has been at the bottom of the hierarchy. Happily, things are changing so that that hierarchy has been adjusted so that service users are perhaps not as disempowered as they might have been at one time. But the power imbalance still does exist, and so we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the effects of power. We're going to look at what happens when that power is imbalanced, and we're going to look at how that might shape the service user's perspective, their perspective on their own experience and their perspective on the care they're giving, whether they enter into the clinical relationship in a positive way, how it affects long-term outcomes. We're going to look at various factors like that in this course. So there are some fundamental things in our lives that help us to have a basic overall sense of sort of personal safety and personal kind of well-being at sort of a foundational level. And some of those are, do we have a safe place to live? Do we have access to food, shelter, clean water, these sorts of things? But when it comes to our economic status, that tends to be quite big and quite influential. So if people go through life being afraid because they don't have the financial resources to take care of themselves, then that generally is known to have a huge impact on overall sense of self, overall sense of well-being, and certainly on mental health. So for children born into situations where they're living in certainly either poor financial circumstances or childhood poverty, we know that this can have a catastrophic impact on their mental health as children, and certainly then into adolescence and adulthood as well.